Haha, that looks really cute.
Oh, I love it!
Welcome to the Mike Cassidy Photography Podcast.
Thank you, big voice in the sky. My name is Mike Cassidy, and I'm a boudoir photographer from New Jersey, and this is my show. I get to talk to some of the best photographers in the world to find out how they got started, what sparks their creativity, and what hurdles they've had to overcome to get their businesses going. Along the way, we'll probably have a few laughs, but I'm here to have in-depth conversations about all kinds of things you've always wanted to know from the best out there. So stay tuned. You never know what you may learn. Why does a photography podcast have to be boring? Boring podcasts are for boring people. Greetings. My name is Michael, and I'm your neighbor. I tend to have long conversations with my guests on this show, and the interesting part that's fascinating to me is that I can have a conversation with somebody for an hour or an hour and a half on some topics and really just cover a small part of what there is to know about that particular subject. And when it comes to marketing, this statement is super true. Marketing is a vast subject, not to mention a super interesting one and one that is important to all photographers. My guest on the show today is Ariel Dilworth. Ariel is a photographer, and she also teaches marketing to photographers to help them run their businesses in a way that is effective, but is still true and unique to them. Marketing is a recurring topic on this show, and for good reason. There's always something new to learn and apply to your business. Ariel has been successful in her marketing, and her approach is the right approach. So break out your earbuds, find a cup of coffee, and give this episode a hearty listen. Do you do mini sessions as part of your business? Have you been thinking about it? Want to do a mini session? Well, a big part of today's episode with Ariel is a discussion on a simple, no-nonsense approach to the mini session, and a lot of it is what photographers are doing wrong, and more importantly, how you need to approach these mini sessions to do them correctly and make money. We talk everything from organizing them to marketing them. We talk about all that. So it's a really bit of an eye-opener when it comes to doing mini sessions. Then we get into some bonus marketing coverage about using social media and the always popular why you should not be copying your competitors, which is like a big flaw of so many photographers, and particularly endemic like in the boudoir industry where people just copy everybody. This is something that can really severely limit your growth as a retail photographer. So we get into a lot of good information here in this episode. So that's what's going on for this show. So why don't you give yourself some me time, in air quotes, me time. Crack open that mocha frappuccino you got sitting there and enjoy this show with Ariel. I'll see you next time. This podcast and my website both focus on the goal of translating the art and business of photography and making it accessible and understandable to everyone. My goal is to provide the best content in photography for you, the listener. I've assembled a great team of photography guests and experts to make this happen. What I've chosen to do is create a subscriber model for my audience. If you value what I'm doing, you can become a member and support this podcast. In exchange, you'll get benefits over and above what's available for free. It's my goal to ensure that subscribers will definitely get back more than they give. I've created a membership program that brings you far more in-depth content if you want to take your knowledge of photography to the next level. members will receive episodes with complete, unabridged interviews with our guests. Members will also get exclusive access to listen to and participate in AMA episodes. And there's more. If you would like to learn more now, head over to thephotographypodcast.show/subscribe. Now, without further delay, here's today's episode. Okay, so now we're recording. We're on. You made it. We had a little problem, but now we're okay. Could be virus related, but we're not sure. Now it's affecting our infrastructure here. We're on. My guest today is Ariel Dilworth, and talking to her today, we're going to be talking a little bit about marketing, a little bit about photography, a little bit about whatever pops up that we are going to be going over in the next hour or so. And Ariel, just take a moment, introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi guys, I'm Ariel. I live in Illinois, not in Chicago. That seems to be what everyone thinks. I live in the middle of Illinois, about 2 hours south of Chicago. Small town, only 13,000 people. But I managed to grow just a 6-figure business after we had moved here, and I didn't know anybody. And now I've started doing just a lot of that type of education with photographers, in addition to still running my photography business full time. So
you're very busy.
Yes.
You must have a very sore index finger, because I was reading you've done about 1,500 people in photography.
Yes.
Like half the state of Illinois out there.
Yeah, right? Like yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I bought my camera after having my first child. I was that mom with a camera that everyone hates. And so that's kind of how I started. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to start a business, and then quickly learned it wasn't that easy, and had to really hone in on the business and marketing aspect of it, so that I could continue to grow that business and everything like that. But that is originally how I started, was just mom with a camera.
And that's got to start. Everyone starts somewhere. But now, looking at, I'm a little bit of a creeper, so I was looking at your websites and looking at your marketing website, and it's all very good. It's all great information that's on there. So the point of this show, like I said, is really everybody has to start somewhere, and it's not perfect when people are starting. Everybody has to go through that same learning curve, and it takes a long time, and some people get there, quicker than others. Mm-hmm. But this show is just about helping people how to connect those dots a little bit. And even if you could take one thing away from listening, and take one step, that's really what it's all about, taking one little step at a time to ultimately get where you want to, what you want to be. And it's a little sidetrack here, but it's hard not to discuss this because of what's going on in the country now. But what is this current situation? How is it affecting where you are and your work and so forth lately?
So because I am in Illinois, it's bad up in Chicago. We do have it in the rest of the state as well, including where I live. But it's definitely the worst up there. It's not like New York, but I think there's 30,000 or so that have it in Chicago. But because I'm still in the same state, they just kind of shut all of us down when Chicago started getting bad. So we have officially been in isolation for over a month now.
Going crazy?
Yeah. And, the main effect it's had on my business has been, I'm a fully booked photographer about 18 months in advance. So a lot of these brides who are having to reschedule their weddings, or people wanting to reschedule their sessions, I don't have very much availability. And so they're having to either decide to not book, or to book with a, or to book a Saturday or a weekday or something like that, or even in 2021. But so that's been kind of hard. Yeah. Just having to try to do all of that. And, obviously I'm a huge fan of the whole reschedule, don't cancel movement, but, it's been interesting because I've never viewed like being a fully booked photographer as a bad thing until this moment.
Yeah.
So that's been an interesting thing to try and navigate.
It's happening nationally though, because a lot of my brides, everything in the spring, all these weddings got like pushed back till after summer. So it's just going to be, hopefully we won't lose a lot of stuff. It's just going to be moving the business from now till later in the year. But it's the first time for everybody to go through this, and I don't want to go through this again, but it's people are making make some last minute decisions here on fixing up their businesses.
$1,000 of income that's just been affected by this just in the 1 month that this has been happening. And I'm the main income provider for my family of 5. I have 3 children. So I am just like, that has been a huge part of that also for me, the stress of it all for me. And so I kind of like, and I think I included this in the show notes, or I gave it to you to put there with the coronavirus toolkit for photographers. Yeah. And honestly, it's like, I'm giving you everything that I have been using myself to get through this time, whether that's like financial resources or my responses to clients who want to cancel or reschedule, or if I want to reschedule and they don't want to, and you have that awkward conversation.
Navigating that.
Yeah. And so I'm just trying to really, just navigate that myself and just kind of make that stuff available to you guys for free, just because this is such a crazy unknown time for all of us.
Yeah, and I'm going to put all those links into the bottom of the episode in the notes there, so everyone will be able to access those and take a peek at that document, because you have a lot of good information. So that's what we're here to talk about today is good information for people. This is a great time if you're not going out and doing a lot of photos, that you can sit home and refocus on your website, refocus on your marketing, and maybe pick up a thing or two, and in the end of it come out a little bit stronger. So really what I came across, I think I was just browsing online. I forget where I saw that, and I came across your article on mini sessions, and it was really well written. And I said, wow, this is good information. This is something that can be helpful for people to navigate that, and you have a little bit of a different point of view on these minis. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit first. We're going to talk about some marketing mistakes that photographers make down the road. It's a lot of information that we're going to have here, so we're going to break it down like sort of little by little. So when it comes to mini sessions in photography, they've been around like forever, and all kinds of photographers do them, and people do it at Christmas. They do it in the fall for like family photo sessions. And so we'll get into this, and like, what are photographers doing wrong? Like, first of all, when it comes to these mini sessions.
Well, when it comes to things that photographers are doing wrong, first off, let me just say that they haven't had a lot of helpful information on how to do it right, because everyone seems to say, don't do mini sessions, don't do mini sessions. And so I think that this is an area that photographers have just been kind of like abandoned on. And so since I'm actually a big proponent of doing mini sessions,
right.
I just kind of wanted to offer that blog post as a way to help them do it in a way that actually grew their business instead of just temporary income. And so when it comes to just things they were doing wrong, or things that I would change just about the way that they're doing it, I would definitely say that like themed mini sessions are great, like fall, Christmas, whatever, but don't waste a ton of money on props. That is a really big thing that a lot of photographers are doing that is essentially just wasting their money, especially because they try to buy new props every single year. All of my mini sessions are very like minimalistic when it comes to props.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, just keeping it simple, focusing on the subject themselves. And then if I do, use any sort of prop, I just reuse them every single year. And, my clients don't mind that at all. They love it because they get to see how their kids have grown, or how their family has grown, or whatever, like that kind of stuff. So, that would be one thing. I have so many.
We'll go down the list, but the idea is keep it simple.
Yeah, for sure.
Minis are not always, but they usually come at a lower price. So don't blow all this money on building sets and props when this is more of a, I don't want to say budget kind of a thing, but it's not really meant to be that all-in kind of an experience for people, I guess, in most situations. So one of the things is, and minis, it's a weird thing because there's like a love-hate relationship with this throughout, I think, the community. Some people love them. Some people say never do this. I personally do it around Christmas, like a little bit, because there's a lot of people who want to come in to see me. And, Christmas is a busy time for the type of photography that I do. So I just tend to do it mostly around Christmas. But as far as how often people should do this, when is a good time to do a mini session?
Yeah, I always encourage people because, if you get on Pinterest, obviously there's 100 million ideas for mini sessions. And the thing of it is that you don't want to do these all the time. You want this to be something special, something different, something unique that happens. And you can do it to fill your calendar in parts of the year that aren't super busy all the time. So let's be intentional. A lot of photographers will do fall minis in October. Well, I don't know about you, but for me, October is already an insane time.
So that's a bad time to do it for that.
Yeah. And I think too, or if you do it in October, just don't do it on a weekend. Don't do it in those prime spots. Do it at the beginning of October before the leaves have really changed, or during a weekday or something like that. The cool thing about mini sessions is that you really get to pick when it's convenient for you. And I want to make sure that they're, as a photographer, that you're doing that ahead of time. You pick the dates and times available, and then you make that option to your clients, because you don't need to work around their schedule at this, during a mini session. They are supposed to be working around your schedule, because especially they're getting it for a discount. So, or for a cheaper price or whatever. So
yeah, so that's a good point. So you don't want to take a peak time where you're going to bring in a lot of people anyway, and taking something that may not be making you as much money. So that makes a lot of sense there. And another thing, as far as minis, is what's a good way to price these type of sessions, or what sort of methodology should you use when pricing a mini?
Yes. Okay. So, and you're going to get a ton of different answers on this from a variety of different photographers.
There's no one right answer.
But for me, so what I do is I just offer a one simple package, one simple price. And
keep it simple.
Yes. Simplicity just all the way around. And my clients have just loved me for that. They kind of gave me the name of oh, go her, she gives you a stress-free experience. That wasn't a marketing tactic on my end. That was my clients naming me as a stress-free experience. And I really try to keep that going, from in every single phase of the process, not just them booking it online or something like that, but also just simple props, simple pricing, simple packaging, all of that stuff. So I just do, this many images, this amount of time for this price. So
you don't have a lot of options. You just keep it very simple.
Yeah. At one point I did experiment with, doing an add-on thing where they can okay, you get this many prices, you get this many images for this price, and then you have the option to purchase additional images. And I thought, okay, well, this will be great. I'll just trick them into buying more images. And the thing is that it worked. They did buy more images, but they weren't returning customers, because nobody likes to feel like they're being tricked. Nobody wants to feel gosh, I wish you would have just told me that ahead of time. We all hate that. Right, we don't want, we feel like we're being scammed. And so I actually found that, that affected how many people went from mini session clients to full session clients when I did that. So I stopped doing that, and now I just do, you get this many images for this price.
Yeah, I guess you don't want to mislead people in saying it's going to be $100 and then it turned out to be $300 in extra fees that they weren't preparing for, and putting a bad taste in them.
Some photographers will do upselling in the session, through prints and things like that. And that's totally fine, but I would definitely say warn them of that ahead of time. Just even in the description, maybe just saying you will have the option to purchase prints afterwards, not required, or whatever, just voicing it ahead of time, because nobody likes to just feel unprepared for that kind of stuff. And so so and I also think it should reflect what you normally do. If you always do in-person sales, then do in-person sales for me. Yes. Yeah. So I don't do in-person sales because I don't have a ton of time. But I do have the option to purchase prints just through the gallery, but not I don't do like in-person sales meetings. And so I wanted my mini session experience to be just the same. And so that's kind of what I do for them. They do have the option to purchase prints, and some of them do, but it's not required. It's not something I focus on, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's a smart thing, like you said, because you want people to know upfront exactly what they're all in for. Hidden things don't work out great in photography or any other kind of business when people think they're getting one thing, and I guess like going to the car dealer and getting a car and then thinking it's 10 grand and them going, whoa, and now you have to pay for rust proving and you have to pay for this and now you have to pay for this. And it's never kind of like the price that you think it's going to be. So,
and there definitely though should be something that differentiates it from your regular packages, because it can't just be price. Like, for example, and a lot of photographers might hate me for this, I don't know, and I don't really care because it's worked for me in my business, but I actually give my full sessions, all of the images. Now, when I say all images, obviously I don't give them 20 of the same pose or ones with their tongue out, whatever, but I give them all of the images because I focus on shooting in camera how I want it to shoot. Editing takes minimal time, so that it doesn't hurt me to give that all to them. And so whenever somebody is looking at my mini sessions, I want them to be able to say, why would I ever book a full session with her, and be able to answer it clearly. The reason they book a full session with me is because they do get all of the images. They get more time with me. They get maybe 2 locations and 2 outfits, whatever. So I want them to see the difference beyond the price too. Yeah,
that's a good point, because I was confused with that, because I guess you don't want your regular customers to think they're overpaying for something. So if your regular section is $600, $700, $800 and you're offering like a certain type of a photo book or whatever, you don't want to have a much lower price and be giving people the same thing. There's got to be some difference, I guess, in the offering there, isn't there? Doesn't there have to be?
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's probably one of the other mistakes that photographers make, is they give away too much. And the thing is it's not always just the number of images. That's what we all like to think whenever I tell them, like, oh, you're giving away too much. You can give away too much time. You can give away too much, like, for the money that you are making them pay for their price, or you can be giving too many images. So you want to make sure that it's like the number of images that you're going to be giving them is, comparable, and it makes sense, it makes sense to, that's like a third of your normal offer, whatever your normal offer is, maybe cut the price
to be scaled down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It needs to make sense for sure.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because then, if you have someone paying for a regular session and they're like, I paid X amount, if I would have known, I would have taken the mini session. I think that can leave a bad taste in people's mouths a little bit when that happens as well. And as far as a little bit deeper into organizing these sessions and who should you be inviting to these sessions, is your audience the same, or should it be the same for a mini session? Because one thing I read about that you do is you're really segregating your people, and you may not be sending out these mini offerings to your regular clients.
Absolutely. So I started doing something a couple years ago. I started implementing this marketing map that I teach in my More Than Marketing course that really shows people, photographers. It's very specific to what we do. And it shows us how we should be helping people find our business, and then how to get them to dive deeper in that relationship with us, and then how to get them to just upkeep that relationship. Every relationship requires consistent conversation, and that's how we really need to be thinking about this with our clients. We have this relationship with them, and so what I started doing was people who would inquire and didn't book, I use a system called Honeybook for bookings. And so everybody who inquires, I have their email address. And so when they don't book, I segment my email list. I add them to an email list with a tag that says, it's kind of clever. It says something like not yet or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's not a no. Yeah. It's just like a not yet, And so
the maybes.
Yeah, these are the maybes. These are the ones that I still need a little convincing. And what I do is I send these mini session offerings to them first. And the reason I do that is because these are people who still see some sort of perceived risk when hiring me, whether that's oh my gosh, she's 6 times more expensive than this other photographer, how is she really that different? Or what if I don't like the images? A lot of people have horror stories with photographers where they thought they were going to get something and it ended up being something totally different. And so like, you know, I want to show them, my goal is to use mini sessions to show these people like your risk that you're perceiving is there is actually not there at all. And so I'm, you know, it's essentially just like making them fall in love with me when otherwise I may not have that opportunity. And so I send it to these people and generally they fill it up. I only have a designated number of spots on 1 or 2 days maybe, and they fill it up. And if it doesn't fill up, then I send it to my whole email list. And then if that doesn't fill up, which I mean, like, I can't even think of a time that it hasn't, then I would post it on Facebook, because I don't want people to follow me on Facebook who are just deal seekers, you know?
Yeah, and that's a real problem with that, because it's exactly what you don't want.
Exactly. And you know, we want to also make sure too that when you are giving this to your audience, that you're building up hype about it. You want to make them excited for this. Like, send out a week ahead of time, like, I'm planning out my mini sessions. I'm so excited. Make sure you tune in over the next couple weeks as I reveal the background. Like, I'll reveal little snippets of like what it's going to look like, or I'll reveal like little tidbits like that, like make it exciting, you know?
Building some anticipation.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I kind of tell them it's going to be released on this time, on this day. And I kid you not, like, I do it at like 6 a.m. on a certain day, and I wake up at 7 and it's already full. And I'm like, yes. So
no, but that's a good strategy in segmenting. It takes a little extra work to do that, but segmenting that, because these are people who contact you. They contacted you for some reason. They took that effort. So there's obviously interest in what you do for whatever reason. Like you said, it could have been price, it could have been timing. Who knows? They didn't follow through on that initial booking with you. So this sort of gives you a second chance to say, hey, or at least as opposed to letting them go, you give them this opportunity to book into this mini session. So if price was the differentiator, that may put them in the range that they need to be or can afford to get in with you.
Absolutely. And that's not the first thing that I send them either. So typically if somebody is in that not yet category, I have this like series of emails that they receive from me that will kind of nurture them a little bit more, get them,
following up with them.
Exactly. And even not even just about like sales, but like only 3% of our followers on social media actually see our posts. And so what I'm trying to do is make sure that I have these guaranteed dates, essentially with my clients, with these potential clients. And so I do that through email, and it has worked. And the thing is you kind of said like, oh, that takes a little bit of time, and it does up front. But after a while, once you get the whole thing automated, like what I have, I actually don't even talk to clients a lot of times until the day of their session. Like, I don't even know what's happening. And yet they feel they've had like 18 encounters with me. Exactly.
Right, because of the emails.
Because of the emails and things like that. And so, just like email templates take time to set up, but then it saves you so much time after it's set up. Right. It's the same thing with this. Like, once you get that email list set up and you get it automated to where you're not doing all of this work, then it's much easier. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So that's good to stay in touch, keep people, and that's a system I had is similar to that. Follow up, at 1 week, 1 month or something like that. Hey, where'd you go? Type of a thing. And we never got a chance to talk, or you never booked. And I think too that little side note here, but if following up with people or contacting them just because somebody reaches out to you for pricing especially if you're, sort of making yourself to be more of an exclusive type of photographer, they expect this personal service. So I think that just goes along with that sort of segmenting that you make to reach out to somebody and follow up with them and say, hey, whether it's by phone, a lot of people don't get on the phone now, but that little bit of service can make the difference in just accept not hearing from somebody just because they not following up with them if they ask for your pricing or something along those lines. And as far as scheduling goes with these minis, how do you book these, or how do you schedule once you have this response and a bunch of people are coming after you to sign up for these events? What's your scheduling process for the mini?
So I used to do it by hand, and as you guys can imagine, that is just a whole disaster, and it's terrible. And also people get irritated at messaging back and forth. And so I actually implement online booking for all of my sessions. Same with mini sessions. I have them get on, they select a day and time that works for them. If they want it, they have to pay that deposit. Some people have them pay in full just because of the area that I live in. I don't do the pay in full, especially because these are people who maybe don't fully trust me yet. I don't ask them to do that.
So that works best for your area.
Exactly. And so I just kind of have them pay that deposit. They get the day and time, and then they go through that email funnel of, preparation emails, things like that.
Yeah, booking online now, I think for a mini session now is something you have to get involved and do, because you're right, there's so much back and forth. And if you're dealing with 5, 6, 7, 8 people trying to book a time, and and the person 1 is saying, well, what times are available? Person 2 is saying what times available? Person 3, and you tell them Monday 5 o'clock, Monday 5 o'clock, Monday 5 o'clock, and they're not getting back for you for 2 or 3 days. When you're originally emailing something that Monday 5 o'clock, if you don't have back from them for 4 or 5 days, the second or third person might have gotten back to you and said, yeah, I'll take that. So it can lead to frustration, I think, with customers juggling emails. So sending them to one central point, having them just click a button and book, you're out of that loop. And
that same frustration that people deal with, like exactly that you just named, that happens with mini sessions. As I grew my business and regular sessions, that same thing started happening. And so that's why I started doing online booking for all.
You've been listening to the free version of the Mike Cassidy Photography Podcast, which brings you the smartest content in photography. If you value what you've been hearing, Mike has created a membership program that brings you far more in-depth content if you want to take your knowledge of the business of photography to the next level. To hear the full interviews with all of Mike's guests, become a premium member today by visiting thephotographypodcast.show/subscribe.
Summing things up here and doing a little bit of brief overviews, but this is essentially what you do. You'll sit down with somebody, and if somebody needs help with the marketing or their website or whatever the case may be, you can sit down and have an in-depth conversation with them to get them squared away and give them some actionable steps to do in sort of area by area.
Yeah, I offer that private one-on-one coaching. I also just help people who message me on Instagram. I'm all about just being helpful. Sometimes I do that a little bit too much for free. And then also I'm a big advocate of just like that one-on-one conversation. I feel like when I first launched my course, my original intention wasn't to do coaching with everybody, but now I actually only take 20 students at a time, and I do coaching with every single one of them, because I do think that there are times when you're like, no, like I need an answer on this. I don't need to go ask the Facebook group. Like I want to ask you what the answer is. Yes. Right. Because this circumstance is unique and, or whatever. And so I really try to offer that to them to, do that.
It's a valuable resource because people, like I said, they need that affirmation. They need that, someone to tell them they're doing things the right way or to put them back on course a little bit. So for people who have this expert knowledge, it's well worth paying for, for what people are going to get out of it in the long run. So, it's a great resource that you can have these people and use your information to help them grow their businesses. And, you can see you really have this genuine interest in wanting to help people. And that's where that, I can hear that in your voice, and you enjoy doing that. And like you said, that's being genuine and being this kind of a coach and you're, creating your classes. And before, we've been talking a really long time today, and I don't want to keep you too long here today, but what I want you to do is just, we may need another whole section to get through this. Tell everybody where they can find you. Now, we didn't even get to touch a lot of your courses, so we'll briefly go over a few of those things and how everybody that's listening can get in touch with you if they want to set up a time or get involved in one of your courses.
Yeah, so my website is arieldilworth.com, and I have my store on there that has all of my products. I have like a photographer's content calendar, a blogging guide. I have my More Than Marketing course, which is really do a lot of the stuff I was talking to you about, where I help you help photographers just find themselves and who they are and build their businesses on that, so that everything can just be really authentic and real. And then they can watch their business explode to whatever level they want it to. And then I also have a blog on there, obviously, where people can go and find
It's a good blog.
Yeah.
Nice pictures. They get a lot of time taking those pictures for your blog, so it works out good.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So get on there, find all of those free resources. I have a couple resources on the store page that are a guide to overcoming self-doubt, and a content guide that has 30 post ideas and live video ideas. But then I also have freebies hidden in different spots throughout the blog as well. So I have a ideal client worksheet, or just different random things like that people can download and use in their own business to help them. So
I'm just skimming through it while you're talking.
Yeah. And then on Instagram, I do those videos on IGTV every Tuesday where I talk about tips. Those videos also go onto YouTube every Tuesday. On YouTube, I'm at Photos by Ariel, just because I created that a century ago, and
still there.
Yeah, and it's still there. So on YouTube, it's Photos by Ariel. Instagram, it's Ariel Dilworth Co. But I try to just really be a resource to you guys, whether that's paid or free. And honestly, I'm always looking for content ideas. So if you have a question about marketing, feel free to send me a DM, because I want to be here to help you, even if you can't invest in a course, and you just give me ideas for blog posts. So
there you go. And then before, one last thing in this time that we're going here through, you mentioned you had something just for getting through in marketing during these COVID times, and where can people find that on the website? Was that something that was free, that was available for people?
Yes, that is on, it's on my website. I have a blog that's called Coronavirus and Your Photography Business. And
then, the blog post.
Yeah, and then but then it also has a guide that you can download, and it has financial resources, email templates. It's also in my bio on Instagram. And it'll be around there probably for the next year, I'm sure, because this sounds like the coronavirus isn't going away anytime soon, since they fear that it's...
I can't go out, Ariel. I'm getting tired of sitting home.
I know. Me too. I love my kids and my husband, but my gosh,
You gotta get out.
Yeah, we all need our time. That's right.
Well, hopefully we'll be back to normal sooner than later. And I do want to thank you for coming on today. It was nice to meet you. That's the great thing about doing this show, is I get to meet some great people, and I get to learn a lot of things from talking to smart people like you. So I just want to thank you for coming on. And that's it. We got a good show today. And say bye to everybody, Ariel.
Bye, guys. I hope to see you around on Instagram and everywhere else. So
thanks.
See you later.